think about yesterday. My, oh my, my, oh my, a kiss, and so I did. My, oh my.
Well,
My,
happy
oh my.
New Year's Eve to all of you.
A kiss, and
Boy,
so I
welcome.
did.
Hi, Andre. Coming back at you with a video for the first of the new year. And I'm smoking a little nose warmer here. And in it, I've got some Christmas cookie. Yeah, all right. So the formalities out of the way. Excuse me. I haven't smoked this in quite a while. It's a cute little pipe. And so I thought, you know what? I'll do something a little bit different. Now, this is different than my regular background. I'm smoking my pipe in my room, actually. Normally I do it down at the dining room table. That's pretty good. But I have a visiting padre here for the week. He's a writer, and he wants to come up here for a retreat so he can get away from all the hubbub, so he can, focus on writing. And I told him he could. But I don't believe he's a pipe smoker, and so he's out in search for snow. We don't have a lot of snow up here right now. 2 years ago we were buried, and this year it's kind of almost like a desert, so hey. But I'm not complaining. I'm not complaining at all. I don't even have a cup of coffee. I'm making this video because it's probably going to be my only opportunity to make a New Year's video. Now today, I kind of discovered this about 7 years ago. And I call it New Year's Eve. And I remember waking up on New Year's Eve, and I was just absolutely filled with energy. I don't know where it came from. I was so excited. I was in no pain. My back didn't hurt. I think that year, I decided just to take the Christmas decorations down off the house, early, instead of leaving them up until, God knows when. And sometimes there was one comment that when I put up Christmas lights the first time I was there, they said, well, are you going to leave them up until, April? And I said, what? And they said, yeah, the last padre, he left his Christmas lights up until late March, April. And I said, no, I don't think I'm going to do that. So the first year I took them down probably right after the baptism of the Lord. But this one morning I woke up on New Year's Eve, I'll never forget it. And I was just so filled with so much energy. And I was just so excited about that. So I took down the Christmas decorations and put everything away and cleaned up everything and just, oh man, I just had so much energy. I just felt wonderful. Little Scrimshaw pipe tamper there I got many, many years ago. Yeah. But anyway, so today, and I've had a couple of those where not quite the same as it was on that first time I experienced it, but basically waking up on New Year's Eve and just kind of giving myself an extra day to do whatever. So, again, I normally make my videos, and I really got big again. This is not good, folks. But we're going to talk about that. So I'm going to go ahead and I got the windows open. I'll probably, it's not that I've been doing anything wrong or bad or anything. It's just that I know some people just don't prefer smoke of any kind. I even have people getting mad at me if I light incense now. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I thought I'd take this opportunity. The Padre that's here, staying here for this week, he's again out trying to find some snow to ski in. So he's going to be gone until about 8 or 9 tonight. So I thought, well, probably won't have time to do a video after Mass this afternoon because I'll do the vigil. And then I thought, but if I take some time now and record, then at least I'll have the recording and then I can put something together in the next day or so. So I can still do a New Year's Day video for you. And you, and you, and you in the back there. Okay. So I wanted to talk about change and New Year's resolutions in the new year and, looking into the future and that kind of thing and looking, but also as you compare and contrast your future with your past. I think we kind of know that those things kind of go together. So I know a lot of people, and to some extent, maybe I fall into that category as well, that I'm kind of naturally skeptical when it comes to things like making New Year's resolutions. Because for the most part, most of us would say, yeah, you probably make the resolution and within a few hours after the new year, it's already broken. And that's been my experience to some extent. Yes, absolutely. But I will say that there have been years where I have actually kept the resolutions, and I have surprised myself by doing so, but in difficult things. So it's not like I've never been able to keep resolutions. Most people, I think most people would say, at least I hope. Well, I hope they don't say this. I hope they have a better experience of resolutions and things. But again, people might say, well, what's the point? If I know I'm only going to break it within a day or two or an hour or two or heck, maybe even a minute or two, I don't know. But I will say this, that when you talk about resolutions, and I like that word, I think that there's different ways of kind of looking at that word that are appropriate. We say, I'm going to resolve to do thus and such in the new year. You're basically saying, I'm going to make a promise, promise to myself. I'm going to promise that I'm going to do this thing. And that's, I think most people will say, yeah, they resolve to do something that's going to be a good thing. Whether it's, watch what they eat, try to lose some weight, save their money, try to be a better all-round person, saying I'm not going to get angry as much as or irritable. I'm going to try not to be as irritable around people as I normally am. That kind of thing. And so it's sort of like you're saying, yeah, I'm going to make a promise to do these things, do things better in the new year. Okay, and that's certainly a part of what the word means. But I think for me, and this maybe kind of helps put it in another perspective, when you look at the word resolve, it kind of means that you're fixing something. You're fixing a problem. As opposed to maybe making a promise to do something good. You know, like if you say you had something wrong with the car, it wasn't working right, and your buddy came to you and said, hey, did you ever have that looked at? And you say, yeah, it got resolved. You know, maybe an issue at work, maybe an issue with your neighbor, maybe an issue with somebody in your family, and you guys worked it out, and you say it got resolved, it got fixed. You know, there was something that was an answer. You know, did you get back to that person who was asking you about the property taxes? Yeah, we got that resolved. Okay, it's fixed, it's done, it's over. It's in the past now. And that's the way I kind of look at resolutions. You're fixing something. Something now has been, an answer has come forward. It's answered. There's a definitiveness to it. It's like, okay, we've taken care of that. You know, it's fixed. As opposed to, I'm going to be kind of walking on this tightrope in the new year, like, hope I don't fall, you know, that kind of a thing. One's a little bit more, you're kind of flapping in the breeze. There's not a whole lot of, literally, you know, walking on a tightrope, you know, across the Grand Canyon. That's kind of the way it feels for a lot of people. They go, do I have the willpower? Do I have the character, the intestinal fortitude to see this thing to its conclusion? And I think a lot of times when we make a resolution, we're really, I think, whether we're aware of it on some level that it's something that's broke within us. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's a reoccurring bad habit. Maybe it's, just how we recognize how we deal with problems in our life. We recognize that I wish I dealt with things more, maybe in a mature way, an adult way, a calmer way, instead of always getting, wrapped around the axle, going off half-cocked and, always angry or irritated about life, or, somebody does bring you a problem and you don't respond well to that. It's like, I could have done that better, and you recognize that there's something within you that needs to probably be fixed. So here's going back to the original thing, some people don't like making resolutions because they know that they're going to break them. What's the point, they would say. But I have to honestly say, yes, have I broken a lot of the resolutions that I made in the new year? Absolutely. But are you sitting down? This little thing spews ashes, doesn't it? Little Mount Vesuvius here. But it's also true that many years I have kept resolutions. I looking back and going, if I just looked at like right now and was thinking, the things I'd like to resolve, fix in my life now. Sometimes, and some of these are reoccurring things, that's to be sure. But I can tell you that there have been many years where I have resolved to keep something or do something that'll make things better for me, and I have kept that. I have kept that. I have been faithful to that. I mean, it blended into my day-to-day life. Whether it's, walking every day, staying away from fast food, for years, going on 4 years now, no Mickey D's, no fast food, okay? Resolving to lose weight, I actually did that. I would like to do that again. Resolving to maybe do a juice fast, for the first month of the year. See how that goes. I mean, I've done that twice now, but it started off as a resolution. I'm going to resolve to do this for thus and such a time. Resolve to make a video every week for a year. Did that. Resolve to, I'm just trying to think. There's been several things where that I've said I'm not going to do something, and I've been able to do that. In Lent, I've resolved not to drink regular coffee for the whole season of Lent, and I've done that now going on, I think, 7 or 8 years. Was it easy? No, it wasn't easy. But hey, alcohol, resolved that, hey, I'm not drinking anymore. Just not doing that. And then I guess part of it is growing in the resolution. You've got to kind of accept the good and the bad, because when you resolve to do something, it doesn't mean it's going to magically fix everything and everything's going to be fine again, or things are going to get better. 9 times out of 10, when you resolve to at least to tackle a bad habit or a problem, sometimes it gets a little worse instead of better. Yeah. And then people say, well, what the hell's, what's the point? Things are even worse now. Cheer up, things get worse. I cheered up and things got worse, But the times I have kept that resolution to where it was no longer being a compulsion, but just a part of life, I did receive the benefits that come from making those resolutions. In other words, have I kept some resolutions, and has there been a positive benefit? Absolutely. So I guess what I'm trying to say through all this little philosophizing on New Year's Eve is that when you kind of look at, your past and your present and your future, you can see some progress, providing you have become the change that you were looking for. I had a kind of an interesting conversation with an old friend of mine, and the phrase, sense of place came up. And I started thinking about that, because that seems to be a reoccurring thread in my life story is, my sense of place in the world, my sense of place in the church, my sense of place in my community, because deep down inside, we all recognize that we live out our existence where we are, where you hang your hat. The old saying in the military was, wherever I hang my hat, that's my home, sort of thing. Because there have been some places especially when you're in the military, that are not very cheery places. You would probably be any place else other than that place. And yet, that's where you are. So, how do you picture yourself in the environment in which you live? Is that environment a good environment for you? Some people recognize that this is where I'm planted. This is where maybe I'll bloom, you know. Some people recognize that maybe this isn't a good place for me. You know, where do I sense that I really belong, and how do I get there? how do I kind of, you know, figure out how to get to where I need to go? And I've always asked people that have lived in one part of the world for, say, the majority part of their life, and now they live here or in America, or, you know, different, or maybe a different place altogether. You know, how does that make you feel? I mean, how do you sense that all connects? How does it all come together? You know, that sense of place, you know, making sense of your sense of place, I guess. I don't know. Oops, sorry about that. Got the camera on a tripod. It's kind of close to the chair, but it's still got a little bit of a distance there. Got my DJI mic there. So, I guess New Year's, excuse me, New Year's Eve is kind of the, I have these moments, I think we all do, where you get introspective and maybe a little bit melancholy, you know, and you think back on your past, and, you know, the older you get, the more you realize that there's a lot of water under the bridge. And, you know, I'm fortunate to have a few close friends that still provide continuity for my sense of place. You know, I kind of say, well, you know, I was here at thus and such a time in my life, could have been last year, it could be decades ago, and yet I still have a physical connection, a real connection to this person who's also has watched, you know, has been a part of my life, and I've been a part of their life. There's a young guy on YouTube, his name is Kyle. He makes these beautiful videos from Vermont. And my best buddy of almost 50 years now, you know, he came up the other day and did a little bit of electrical work, and we had a nice little dinner together, and we just sat and talked a couple hours, just sat and talked. And it's harder and harder to find those really rare moments, because sometimes, you know, you're just in a certain frame of mind and the thoughts are clicking, you know, those experiences are flowing by, and you can pick them out of the river and say, remember this, you know, or remember when we did that, or we went here, or remember when you said this and when I said that, and, you know, those kinds of things. Yeah. Those times are kind of rare because you're not always kind of on that same frequency. Sometimes you're thinking about work, you're thinking about the parish, at least I am, and maybe somebody is going through a hard time and you're trying to help them through that, and so you're not as introspective as maybe you would like to be or could be. You know, I don't know, maybe it's just a thing of aging. You can't focus on a lot of things all at once, you know. Multitasking. I don't know if multitasking is such a great thing, but a lot of people, you know, seem to take a lot of pride in doing it well, but I've never been able to do it well. You know, I think I can breathe and maybe, you know, take a couple steps every now and then. You know, that's my multitasking level, skill level set. Anyway, so, but just being able to kind of make sense of all of it, you know, trying to figure it out, you know, how does this all tie together? Because, you know, there's so many different stories, you know, literally, you know, different chapters of my life. And so I'm watching this young guy, Kyle, and, you know, he makes these beautiful videos from around, but he's a young guy. He's probably maybe in his late 20s. He and his girlfriend, you know, they have this little house they're fixing up, and then they had a little cabin, and there's even some drama associated with that. I mean, he makes these beautiful, I think I discovered the guy about 2 or 3 years ago, just, you know, because he did this beautiful drone, and it was more kind of a little bit at the time, a little bit more just kind of scenery stuff, kind of like travel, kind of, you know, Vermont. And but now he's kind of like getting in front of the camera and really telling his story and everything. And again, once I was young, I was a young guy, and I just said, you know, at one time that was my dream, to have kind of the same life that he has, you know, getting an old house and getting married and fixing it up and having a family. And, you know, of course, I didn't live that dream. That was somebody else's dream. But anyway, and again, this is not regret time. because another friend says, hey, remember, you're living the dream. I'm living this dream now, and it's a good dream. It's all good. Are there challenges? Are there problems? Are there headaches? Absolutely. Just like in any station in life you find yourself, you're going to have challenges. You're going to have heartaches. You're going to have problems. You're going to have problem people. You're going to be a problem people in your own life story. I guess I kind of like that's why this young guy I kind of feel there's a little bit of authenticity, because he does share the problems along with the joys and the happy times. He shares the problem times too, which I think is really honest, because a lot of people have gotten on social media, whether it's Instagram or YouTube or Facebook. If I can tell you to do anything, resolve to get rid of Facebook or Meta. You'll be happy. You'll be totally happy. You'll be light years ahead. You can just delete that account, and you don't have to look back ever. I did that like 4 or 5 years ago. Yeah, about 4 years ago, I think now. I gave it up. I gave up Facebook, and then it turned into Meta a year or two later. I gave that up 4 years ago. Never looked back, and I'm just a very happy guy. Really happy guy. Again, if you resolve to do just that for this year, I guarantee you will be a happier person. No doubts about it. But anyway, so again, chronicling, not trying to pretend that life is all hunky-dory and there's no problems, because that's fantasy. That's science fiction, folks. Everybody. If you draw a breath, you are going to have problems. That is just part and parcel of the human experience. It's how you respond to the problems and how you resolve them. And so that's why I'm probably going to make this a very short video, but that's why I think resolutions are positive things. Some people would say that the resolutions are bunk, they're humbug. We're still in the kind of the Christmas season, so I guess I can employ that word. Humbug. They're humbug. Because most people seem to break the resolutions even before you get started. Or, you go a week or two and you still break them. That's probably the hardest part. But I would say, and going through it, you have to make a kind of a realistic resolution, and you have to understand that it's not going to be totally perfect. Okay? Again, some people get overly legalistic, and then they say, well, I broke it, so might as well just now throw caution to the wind, just give in, And, I would say that is a recipe for frustration, and it just doesn't help. So, again, recognize that if you make a resolution, it may not be perfect. But as long as you resolve to kind of keep moving in that direction, even if you have a little bit of a hiccup or take a couple steps back or you don't see any progress at all, which I think frustrates people the most, is I'm doing this thing and I'm not seeing any progress. Well, you probably aren't going to see any progress for a while. Yeah. That was the thing I've learned over doing some of these things and just getting through those depressing, discouraging moments, saying, what's the point? I don't see any results. I don't see any positive results. The results are happening. They're happening more internal. They're kind of like beneath, it's kind of like it's like a grape orchard in wintertime. Yeah, if you want to see something that looks totally dead to the world, just go look at last year's grape harvest. Especially if they haven't pruned it, it's really ugly. Even if they prune it, it just is depressing. There's nothing going on. Those knurled old stumps in the ground, they look like they're dead to the world. And you'd be wrong. You would be wrong to think that, because all underneath that soil, life is teeming. It's just setting down all those wonderful things that are going to be springing, leafing out in sometime in March or April, and you'll be going, wow, where did all those vines come from? Where did all that fruit come from? But right now, in the middle of winter, a grape orchard, it looks like one of the most deadest things you'll ever see. And so that's why you have to resolve, not just resolve to do the thing, but you got to resolve to wait around for when it becomes realized. It will realize, you will see results. You will see fruit, you'll see progress, but you've got to wait for it, because it's happening. It's already happening. It just hasn't materialized to the point where you can really see it. But when it does, maybe a couple months down the road, you will begin to experience the positive dividends of making that resolution. But 9 times out of 10, it ain't going to happen overnight. Not going to show up the next day or the next week. It's going to take time. You got to put in that little seasoning of time in there. Little play on words there. Some of you said, I saw what you did with that. Yes, you saw what I did with that. But it's true. And as long as you're patient, as long as you exercise a little bit of positivity and hope, say, okay, today I'm not seeing the results that I'm looking for. But I guarantee you, if you resolve to stay in your resolution and keep doing it day by day, those things will manifest themselves. And when they do, I think that's even more exciting, because you've had the patience to wait. Wait is a great virtue. Waiting is a great virtue. Patience is a great virtue. Because a lot of times those things are obtained through just patient endurance. Going to school and getting a degree, building a house from start to finish. You see the progress. In the beginning, it doesn't look like much. And in the beginning, it's a bunch of old wooden forms in the dirt and the mud, and then you pour a slab, and still, that doesn't look like a house. That's not a house. But within time, the walls go up, the roof goes on, the sheetrock goes up, the painting goes on, and then it just snowballs. It's like now instead of this big flat piece of dirt, you've got a home there. But you've been patient to let it materialize. So I guess, I've always had these ideas about resolutions. And for the most part, even though I tend to be a cynic or a skeptic, naturally, I'm kind of the glass is half empty. And by the way, it's dirty and it's cracked. Just thought I'd point that out to you. That's the kind of person I am. But learning to kind of rethink things and see things in a different light, well, then experiencing that and saying, okay, I don't see any results, and it looks like it's a pain in the rear end, and this is uncomfortable, I'm not feeling any better, and all that. But if you stay the course for a couple of months, you will begin to see positive results. That resolution will begin to come to fruition. It'll start to flower. It'll start to give you back the dividends you were looking for the day you started it. And so I don't know if anybody's making resolutions this year. 2024 would be a good year to make some positive resolutions, and then see where you are in a year. Hey, a lot of times when I've kept the resolutions, I've surprised myself, and I said, you know what? If I hadn't stayed the course, I wouldn't be seeing the positive dividends or the results. But it was only through one day at a time, looking beyond the frustrations of the day, or the week or the month, and looking towards the future, recognizing that if I stay consistent and I stay dedicated, even if it's not perfect, not saying you have to strive for perfection, sometimes a little setback. I'm not encouraging people to have setbacks on anything, but I'm just saying a lot of times when you're going through these things, you just feel ugly and awkward. It's like, this isn't very glamorous, In the early stages, it doesn't seem like it just seems like you're spinning your wheels. But eventually you'll make traction, and when you make traction, you will take off, whatever it is, I think. So I just wanted to kind of share my ideas on resolutions. I've had all these things kind of floating around in my brain housing group for a number of years, and I've always thought, well, even though in the beginning and even at certain times in my life, I thought, why bother? It's ridiculous. It's a lesson in futility. It never changes anything. Well, that's not true. That's not true. And I know people will get up there and they'll be skeptical, and they'll be, making fun of people that make resolutions. But the ones that make the resolutions and they do it realistically, okay? You got to be realistic in the resolutions. It's got to be something that can be truly resolved in your life. It can't be something like, well, I'm 4'5" and I want to be 6'2". Probably not going to happen. Okay, that's not a realistic. Obviously, I resolved to be taller in the new year. Don't know if that, but you can be maybe slimmer in the new year, maybe lighter in the new year. Might be able to maybe walk for 5 miles instead of 1 mile in the new year. You might be able to work up to that. I don't know. But again, you have to be realistic in the resolutions. I guess sometimes people start and they just say, well, I'm going to become a millionaire in 2024. Well, good luck. And I hope you make it. And maybe if you have the right investment strategies and you know about financial planning and you're investing in good things, could that happen to you? Yes, it could. Not saying it can't. I mean, that's not a goal of mine. Maybe to just pay off a credit card. That might be a positive goal for a lot of people. It's just simple. You have $3,000 out on a credit card, maybe at Best Buy or something. Pay it off this year. That's doable. That's very doable for a lot of people. Okay? Try to eliminate some of your debt. That could be a really positive resolution, Anyway, I'm just saying that if you can, resolutions are positive. That's what I guess I'm trying to say about this video. So bring it to a close. Making resolutions is not only a realistic thing to do, but it's a good thing to do. And if you are patient and consistent, you will see fruit in your life. Okay. Now, again, the other thing could be a spiritual thing as well. Okay. You could say, I want to resolve to maybe pray every day, for half an hour, If you're Catholic, maybe pray a rosary. Or just say, I'm going to commit myself to just saying a daily rosary. It's not that hard. And, you might find some really positive spiritual benefit. Maybe not the first day or the first week, but you might find yourself acquiring a positive prayer habit that pays off later. Maybe you're able to, because some people, they don't know how to pray, or they feel uncomfortable about praying because they don't know what they're doing is right or wrong. But if you just kind of start off with praying a rosary every day, then you're kind of developing a habit. And whether you go into the church or you have a little special prayer corner in your house, now you kind of are developing a sacred place, a sacred time, to where now that prayer can start to mature into something else, something more mature. But you planted the seed. And I think that's all resolutions really are. When you think about it, you're planting seeds. And if you cultivate it and you nurture it, it will bring forth some wonderful rewards, good things. So I resolve in the new year to keep making these corny videos. Yeah, so there you go. And if you know anything about me, if I make a resolution, chances are pretty good I'm still going to be knocking around here for the next, for 2024. Just when you thought it was going to be safe to go back on the internet, and now this old crazy pipe smoking guy is saying he's going to make more videos. He's going to resolve to make more videos in the new year. So take it or toss it. Well, thank you so much for watching. And again, happy New Year's Eve to you and yours. And we will be talking to you, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise in the next video in 2024. Thanks for watching.